To the outside world, some of the stuff us runners do might seem absurd. And maybe it kinda is, but maybe also there's a really good reason behind why we do what we do. So it might be absurd, but it might also have a massive benefit. So here are the 10 most absurd things I think most of us runners do, and let me know in the comments how many you do, and if I get over 3, the deal is you have to subscribe. I just made that deal up.
Now, like I said, you gotta fess up if you do these things. What about those days when you're out on a run, you have an allocated set distance to do, it's all going really, really well, a la this track session, and you get all towards the end of your run, you look down at your watch, and you're not quite where you needed to be. So you end up walking around in a circle like a demented pigeon to get it up to where you needed to be, in this case 4.96 to 5 kilometers. And I get it. Come on, who's a rounder upper? Because this is the way I look at it anyway, for what it's worth. For the most part, if I've got a distance that's set for the week that I need to run, and I think that 0.4 or 0.04 will contribute to my overall distance that I set in my head, like a 75 kilometer week or a 50 kilometer week, doesn't matter what it is, yeah, I'll round it up. But the second way I look at it is if I've got a more relaxed week, like a recovery week or a taper week, or I've already hit my weekly mileage, if it's 4.96, I think sometimes it's actually a good thing to train your body and mind to just accept it and be like, it's all right, it's all good. Doesn't always need to be rounded up. But I will tell you this, if you've never done it, never rounded it up, fair play to you. Hats off. I'm like in the middle.
If you've done this one, then you're with 99% of the running population. You're standing on the start line of a race. Plan is set. You know what you have to do. You know the pace you can sustain. You know where your heart rate needs to be. You're ready for battle. The siren goes and you kiss sweet goodbye to that plan by propelling yourself forwards at a speed you've never run in training and actually didn't even realise you could run. But you kind of feel okay until your heart rate catches up by thumping against your ribcage like it wants out. Yes, you spent all your chips in the first kilometre and you've got 20 more to go. Maybe. So long, dignity. Hello, snotty nose. Hello, white foam at the corners of the mouth. Hello, limbs not doing what you're asking of them. But you know what? You did it. It's a learning journey and you really learn about your body. And you'll get a little bit better each time, hopefully. But ultimately, experience is best lived. So you might end up an absolute mess by the finish line, but you also might not. And that's the joy of the journey. Now, if you're not guilty of this one, you are definitely a better person than I am. Look at it this way. How many feet do you have? That's right, 2. So how many trainers do you need? That's right, 2. To think that we need any more than 1 pair of trainers is a bit extravagant, but I honestly feel like I do. And there is good reason for it as well. You see, I know I only have 2 feet, but the evidence says that when you run in these trainers or any trainers, the foam for a short time gets compacted, and in order to let it decompress, you might want to get another pair of trainers for your rotation so that you could train in those the next day and then rotate through. And then of course you've got speed trainers, you've got road trainers, you've got trail trainers, even new trainers. And actually there is a very famous equation that I've shared on Instagram previously about the amount of trainers that you actually need as a runner, and it's N plus 1, and N is the amount of trainers that you already have. You're welcome.
Okay, one of the crazy things runners do, and I definitely do this, is have superstitions and things you think you absolutely have to do in order to run well. So my one is I had an epic race in my pink kit, and then I was like, I've got to do every race in my pink kit because obviously it was the kit that made me have a really good race. Ben, what was yours?
There was no way I was racing without having a coffee before the race. It was my performance enhancer. I couldn't race as well without it, 100%, until I had to race because there was no coffee and I just performed exactly the same, and it broke that superstition.
So whatever your thing is, whether it's your lucky pants, your lucky socks, your lucky hairstyle, and yes, I do that one as well, let it all go, because the thing that is helping you have your great performances or your great races is the hard work, the consistency, and the effort that you've put in to your training and running.
Something absurd that I know all of us do is we think that as soon as we get into running, and certainly running big volume, we can eat whatever we want, it doesn't matter. Not true, and pretty bad for you. I mean, without even getting into what I call the mayonnaise years that I had for a couple of years, the fact is that you cannot outrun a poor diet. You could do as much exercise as possible, and if your diet is poor and you're eating a lot more calories than you're burning off, you're going to put on weight. It's as simple as that. And even if you don't put on weight, then it's what you were putting in the tank that counts. What are you fueling this exercise with? But the key for me is quite simple actually, is clean, unprocessed foods for the majority of the time, and you're usually doing pretty well. But do watch those portions, because I do have portion distortion as well. But clean up your diet, because you're not gonna outrun it.
Okay, possible overshare incoming, but thinking that you can get away on your long runs without going to the toilet before you go on your long runs, kind of a recipe for disaster. So here's the thing, or at least how I've experienced it, is your body's a funny old thing. You might wake up in the morning, it might be early, you might want to go on your long run and you might not need the toilet, and that's fine. However, I can almost guarantee you that within a kilometre, if not 2 of your run, especially if you're not doing a looped run, you're gonna need to at least start looking around, because running is almost elicits the same responses as coffee. It's like your body's like, oh, it's go time. So you start feverishly looking around you. Is that a bush? Is that a place I can go? Is that a place I can go? Where can I go? And what it's gonna come down to is, did you go before you run? If not, you know what a bear does in the woods? That's probably what you're gonna end up having to do.
Also, don't forget to pack your pack. Tissues, hand wipes, you know the drill.
Sorry if that was an overshare. Oh, another thing I've learned over the years, and to be fair, I learned this one in triathlon before I learned it in running, is that you can't cheat the grind.
So in my early days of triathlon, I'd turn up to races and there would be people that have never done a triathlon before on brand new time trial bikes that cost thousands. Maybe one of those helmets that are like aerodynamic to make you go faster, or even worse, with the teardrop at the back that make you look like a chopper. And the running equivalent, of course, is something like the Alpha Flies, which are like expensive trainers. And to be fair, if you've got the money, you know, why not? But these bikes, these trainers, these recovery tools that you buy, they might help you run, they might help you run faster, they might be a placebo, but what they all definitely are, oh my god, even this ice bath, is they're the cherry on top, they're the icing on the cake. What you can't do ever is cheat the grind.
I feel like at this point I'm just running you through my life mistakes in a video, but I kind of am. And if you've ever done this one, then you're not alone. Have you ever had that kind of feeling where you could be coming down with something, maybe you're already down with it, you're not feeling particularly well, and you think, you know what? You know what would be the best idea to blow this out? I'm gonna go for a run. And the thing is, while you're out there running, you're thinking, oh my God, this was such a great idea.
But it's not a great idea, is it? Because often, more times than not anyway, you send yourself over the precipice and make things so much worse.
You see, I kind of look at it this way. The arc of running is a long, long arc. In fact, hopefully a lifetime. So when you're a little bit ill, when you're feeling a little under the weather, zoom out and think, actually, what's a week in a lifetime? Because yeah, you might get away with it. Yeah, you might not tip yourself over the edge, but equally you might.
Oh, I wish this one wasn't a journey that you had to go on, but you do. One of the absurd things we think we can do is get away with running through an injury, or even an injury about to happen. So the rule I tend to have is tightness and stiffness turn into low grade aches, turn into injury, and if we don't treat it at the tightness or stiffness, and certainly when we get to the aches, we're going to run ourselves into injury. And really, And for the most part, with overuse injuries, you're not going to get away with it unless, of course, you seek professional help. Because there have been times when I've been in pain, I've gone to see someone and they've given me the confidence that I can run through this with a few changes in exercises, a few treatments. But if you're just out there thinking that you've got pain and it's okay, I'm going to run through it, I would rather take a week off, get it sorted, than have a month or 2 off because something worse happens down the line. So no, for the most part, you can't cheat injury. You certainly can't train through it for the most part. Be careful. 1 week out is much more preferable than long-term out.
Okay, 12-kilometer run.
Or 7.5 miles actually.
Okay, that was kilometer 1 in 5 minutes.
Mile 1 in 8 minutes. Yeah, just getting the good miles in.
Kilometers.
Come on, admit it. Who's ever argued with a loved one or a friend or anyone about whether it's miles or kilometers that you measure runs in? Because ultimately, think about it. It's just 2 different metrics of measuring a run. It's pointless, it's arbitrary. It's about as pointless as arguing which goes on a scone first. Is it jam or is it cream?
It's a scone.
It's a scone, and everybody knows it's cream. If you think it's jam that goes on a scone first, and if you think it's miles, actually the science has said you're a psychopath. You see, we all have our own opinions, but the point is, as long as it's always taken in the right spirit, there are definitely enough miles or kilometers for all of us out there.
So if the video brought you any value or even a chuckle, then consider subscribing to the channel, but no hard sell. And if you like the video, you're definitely going to like this one, which is the 8 red flags runners should know, but probably don't. And again, hopefully it brings you a little bit of value. Thanks for watching. See you on Sunday.